Today, we're taking you to one of our favorite places on Earth, the British Virgin Islands, sailing capital of the world. And we have a little different angle on it. So, check out this episode for more on sailing in the BVI.
Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Erik, Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. Welcome back. We are
Erik
and Emily, the husband-wife team behind the Awesome Factory and the Navigator Sailing Trips. And today we're talking about one of our favorite places on the planet. We just call it the BVI because we're kind of like tight, but the British Virgin Islands is where we're talking about. This has been such a powerful place for adventure and learning and beauty and relaxing and vacation. And so we're excited to give you our take on the BVI.
I remember when I was still not a very experienced sailor, and I was in these forums trying to get answers to all my questions, and I kept seeing BVI everywhere. And I was like, I do not know what this is. And I would Google it and search, and it wasn't anywhere. Nobody would explain it. The internet would explain it to me. Anyway, I don't remember how, but I finally figured it out. And now I find myself saying BVI so casually in conversations with people who want to go sailing. They're like, what was that? I'm like, oh, sorry, British Virgin Islands. I think it's worth mentioning that the British and the U.S. Virgin Islands are right next to each other. You could swim between the two of them. St. John's is the closest island, and I forget the island that's closest on the British side, but we were stuck there one time, and I contemplated swimming across the border because we needed to get home. Anyway.
I did not entertain that idea.
You did not think it was as great idea as I did, but they're very close is what I'm trying to say. I think we bought the U.S. Virgin Islands. I would say the United States bought the Virgin Islands, part of the Virgin Islands from Denmark around, and it was early 1900s. Kind of right before World War II picked up.
Yeah, join us for more amateur vague history. That's our specialty.
Clearly, amateur vague history, yeah.
But I think I heard or read sometime this could be true. Maybe, probably.
Follow us for more historical...
Fact check us.
Facts.
Well, a lot of people think about a sailing vacation, and it comes to mind... crowds, maybe on the islands, maybe not, maybe cocktails for sure. We do sober sailing, so we have a little bit different focus when we come to the British Virgin Islands. We're not making it a pub crawl. It's more like a snorkel crawl. But anyway, we'll get more into that. Like, even if you've never sailed this place before, the British Virgin Islands is like a nature's classroom. There are consistent winds, calm waters, and the islands are all close enough that you can see where you're headed. And that is called line of sight sailing, which is very comfortable and confidence building in anybody, but especially a novice sailor. You're like, I'm just going to go over there. And then we head that direction. It's really nice. Okay, so what makes the British Virgin Islands such a gentle and forgiving place for beginning sailors?
I love this because we started here. I don't remember the exact year. I think it was maybe 2010. We wanted to get certified and be able to charter our own boats. And so we went down there and we signed up with a sailing school that existed at the time, but no longer does. But our sailing instructor is still there. I had dinner with him earlier this year. Shout out to Matt. Anyway, we went out there and it was just the best because I'll say it's the sailing charter capital of the world. There are more beds on boats in the BVI than there are on land.
Oh,
that's the fact that I've heard. Another vague historical factoid.
Word of mouth fact.
Word of mouth, which in the sailing community carries a lot of weight. Yeah. So it's a great place because there's so much to see and do in a relatively small distance. as you mentioned, there's consistent trade winds.
So wait, you're saying a lot of words that are new vocabulary. So what are the trade winds and where do they come from?
The trade winds come from Africa across the Atlantic Ocean, and they blow consistently. They're what they bring hurricanes in the summertime.
Oh,
They brought Christopher Columbus in 1492, and they bring amazing vacations now in 2025.
nice.
Amazing sailing vacations.
And then you also said doldrums.
Yeah, doldrums are
Maybe you've heard this word before used in a different context, but in
when
sailing,
it's when there are no winds, and you can't go anywhere on a sailboat with no wind unless you have engines and motors, which we do on the boats that we use. But if you don't, basically in the BVI, you can sail if you want to, because
yeah.
there's always wind. There's always trade winds are always blowing.
Oh my gosh, I have a funny story about there always being wind. At least I think it's funny. Our son, when we lived on a sailboat, he used to like to take these little tiles, kind of like dominoes, and set them up. And that is maybe like
On the boat.
Yeah, he wanted to set them up so that they would stand upright, and then you can choose to tip them and make little patterns with them, right? That is maybe the worst game you could play on a boat.
Yeah.
One of the worst, because
I mean, like
especially
tennis probably being the worst, but
ping
then
pong, yeah. But especially in the British Virgin Islands where the trade winds are constant, I was like, no. Anyway, every time he would get 2 or 3 set up, they would just fall over again because
so maddening.
wind. I was like, oh, maybe pick a different game. But it's perfect for sailing, as you were saying.
Yeah.
So
and so
we were talking about why it's so forgiving and welcoming for new sailors.
you've got great constant wind, steady winds. You've got deep water, so you're able to sail without too much worry about running into something. I have been known to run into a thing or two, unfortunately, under the water, but for the most
Like
part,
how frequently would you say?
like
Maybe like once
one
every
time in the past 15 years,
Okay.
I hit a rock. And it was a doozy, but anyway, no need to go there. I'll process my trauma later.
Okay.
But basically, yeah, there's deep water, and also there's a great variety of islands. So many coves and beaches and anchorages, and you can be near people and civilization. You can hit a restaurant right off, like on the beach at night if you want to, or you can be with nobody around, or you can be near a town. There's great snorkeling. There's just a wide variety, and it's all very close. You're never too far from help if you need it. You're never out of communication, but you also have the option to be remote and secluded if you want to.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the places that we love to go on our trips. I know when you look it up, a lot of tourists, it will talk about your top places to go, and it will mention bars. Those are not on our top list of places to go and things to do in the British Virgin Islands. We're taking a different path.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what are some of the favorite places. And I don't know, in your mind, if you want to go, oh, from the marina, these are the islands I would hit, or if you just want to like throw out a bouquet of BVI islands and locations and activities that you like to do.
Yeah. Well, I think one that for us probably goes without saying is we love the baths. It's just one of our favorite places on earth. It's the south end of Virgin Gorda Island, and it's just this tumble of huge granite boulders that are sort of scattered along the edge of the water, and huge down to small, all the way down to sand-sized rocks, with a couple of really beautiful coves. And it's just amazing water, amazing scenery. There's a cool kind of scramble hike through it that we did with our instructor the first time we were there, and it remains a highlight. And so if people are interested, we always go there.
And the Bats, I think, is that a national park?
It is a national park. It's a British national park.
Yeah, so it's a British national park, and there is a resort there as well, but mostly you're just in this immersive, interactive, natural playground. That's how I felt the first time that I went there. I remember going there. I was very nervous about learning how to sail on these bigger boats. I was very nervous about our family's idea to live on a sailboat one day. I was nervous about learning. We were in a class and I was studying and anxious, and we would get tested throughout the week. And so even though we're in this gorgeous Caribbean, location, I felt pretty anxious about a lot of things. And when we went to the baths, all of that let go. And honestly, I realized that I had been keeping like on constant, just like concerns about our kids. We had 5 kids. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooling them. And that part of my brain was always running. And when I went to the baths, well, they stayed in my heart. That part of my brain turned off. And I felt like I actually played for the first time since we had children. And it was such an unbelievable relief to me. It was just incredible to be able to access this part of me that could really just have fun. And from that experience, I've come to say that play is the deepest form of rest, when you just feel so comfortable that you can completely be yourself and be curious and delighted and not held back by worry. So I'm glad we're starting with the baths, because if you are Googling it, this is probably one of the top places anybody will tell you to go. And it is worth the hype, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then after that, it kind of spreads out.
Yeah.
Different people might like different things. So we can tell some of our favorites.
I will say this, next to the baths can get pretty well visited, because it is popular and it's accessible. It's accessible by land, meaning that if you're on Virgin Gorda Island, which is the second biggest island in the chain, you can drive there, get a cab, and sometimes cruise ships will stop there. And so sometimes it's a little crowded, and it doesn't have to be. We can time it so that we're away from the crowds. But
and people are selling T-shirts, and
there's
a little bit of that.
It's a little bit of that. But next door, across a little channel, is Fallen Jerusalem, and there is literally nothing on this island. There are no buildings, there are no structures, there's no power, there's nothing, and it is the same sort of
granite boulders.
Yeah, it's the same topography, the same geography as the baths, but you can only get there by boat. You cannot take a cab or a car, or you can't even walk there. And there's really only space for 2 boats to kind of tuck in, and you can't spend the night there. It's a daytime spot. But if people are feeling spunky and we go to Fallen Jerusalem, which is really one of my top places to go.
That when you go to Fallen Jerusalem, you feel like it's possible that maybe you were the first person to ever come there.
Yeah.
When you walk around it and you're like, oh, I remember we went there and we had almost an entirely intact lobster carcass, which might not sound very attractive, but it had like the shell of the lobster, and it was
molted.
Just so many beautiful colors, and it was like completely intact. And you're like, how long has this been here? And then, you scramble around and there's some little tiny lagoons, and maybe I went uphill a little bit and in between some boulders and pop out to see the other side of the island. And there's just thousands of conch shells. And, I'm like, whoa, where did all of these come from? And if you go the other direction, you're going to have a different experience and see something else. There's certainly a little beach you could sit on. One thing I will say about the British Virgin Islands, that if you are excited about the beaches in Florida or California, this will ruin you.
Yeah.
It will spoil you. You will just want to take that into consideration before you head into the, what do you call it, like powder fine sand of the British Virgin Islands and all their little crescent coves with body temperature water just like lapping at your toes. But I do love Fallen Jerusalem, and it is definitely off the beaten path and just a fun place to walk around and explore, and no paths have been created before you got there. So
yeah, I've tried to hike to the top of Fallen Jerusalem and couldn't get there. There's no way that's been cleared. You're going to be like fighting through prickly bushes and Anyway,
Yeah, if you get up that high, you'll hit the prickly bushes. So
yeah. So that's yeah.
awesome.
Those are two great places. And I would say that another standout is Anagata.
Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, am I jumping ahead?
No, we
Okay.
can go back and forth. Anagata.
So Anagata for me was a bit of a mystery for a long time. On our When we went and got certified there, our instructor wanted to take us out to Anagata, but we really wanted to go to the baths, and so he kind of shuffled the deck, and we changed up the week a little bit, and we did not go to Anagata.
I'm really glad we went to the baths, but Anagata is worth seeing.
Anagata is it's a completely flat, massive coral reef island. It's very different. All the other islands in the BVI are mountainous, sort of volcano covered in vegetation, and Anegada has palm trees, but it's like a flat coral, flat just pancake.
It almost is like getting a little taste of the Bahamas in your trip to the BVI.
That's a great way of
Yeah.
describing it. It's like a little dropping a little piece of the Bahamas into the BVI. And because it's so flat and it's because it's so far out, you cannot see it over the horizon. And so when we went there with our instructor, we didn't see it. And then came back when we lived on a boat with our kids, and
We voted not to go.
still couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But we got up the guts. Actually, no. We came another time between when we came out with friends. It was our first time chartering, my first time as a skipper, and we sailed halfway there.
Yeah.
I wanted to just see it. I was scared about sailing towards something that over the horizon that I could not see. And so we sailed out until we're like, oh, I can see the palm trees, and then it's starting to appear. Like, okay, now I know we could get there, but we turned around and went halfway. Then we sailed back.
Yeah, everybody wanted to do that for some reason.
And then we also, then when we came with our kids, we there's a lot of factors. If you want all the details, you can read about it in our book. But we decided to not go. And so it was a while before
It was like years Anagata was hovering out there over the horizon, teasing.
Yeah. So it was, boy, I'm not going to do the math, but it was a number of years before we went out there. And now I love to go. And we don't go every trip, but we go much of the time we go out there.
Yeah,
and
it depends on the crew.
So it's further out, and it's a proper sail. You're sailing for several hours, some between 2.5 to 4 hours to get there. And it can be really a lovely sail. And you get there, and it's just got the biggest white, like the biggest, most expansive white sandy beach you will ever see.
Yeah, you just feel like you're just gonna go on forever. You walk all the way up the beach, walk all the way down the beach. It's just like mostly beach.
Yeah, and very few boats out there. I mean, there's one little spot where they have mooring balls, and everyone kind of crowds in there. I love to anchor. And anchoring,
I mean, it's such good anchoring.
Well, so. I'll say this. A lot of people that go sailing there are sort of semi-experienced. They're not really confident. And so they always want to be in a marina, or they want to be on a mooring ball because they feel like they'll be secure overnight. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to do those things, but I'm also happy to go anchor out, which gives us a lot of flexibility. And so we'll go around to the secluded side of Anegada, and because there's a handful of restaurants. It's a very small population. Only a few hundred people live on the island year round. But there's a lot to see and enjoy there. But because we anchor out, we'll get to go to some more isolated places. And I think that's where I know in your notes you wanted to talk a little bit about Sid and Isabella.
Yeah, well, there's a few things about Anegada. They're very famous for their lobsters. And so if lobster is your thing, that is the place to get it. A lot of times when people come sailing with us and they'll let me know, oh, I love seafood in there, and they're going to want to eat seafood. And I always say, if I buy seafood for us, it's going to be the same frozen stuff you buy wherever you live. So you want to go to the restaurants where the chefs are at the fish markets, or maybe they even have people who catch for them. And in Anegada, as you bring your dinghy and you get on the pier, the little dock there, you will see like baskets full of lobsters in the water that they're getting ready to cook up that night. And you have to let them know kind of in advance so they know how many to prepare for the day. And so that is going to be some very fresh lobster, if lobster is your thing. And then, yeah, there's like little shops and a couple little restaurants, and we've been to all different parts of the island. And one of the things that we love to do is often rent a scooter. And there's like a flamingo preserve, and there's some other kind of eco things that are going, and just to get a tour of the island, see little gardens, see the wildlife, see the houses, see the goats, walking down the side of the road alongside you. And then we like to go to the other side of the island and check out another beach and some hammocks they have hanging in the trees, and just explore the island. And then we usually want to eat on the island for dinner that night. And they have great food. I haven't been to a restaurant there where I wasn't thinking, this food is delicious. Like, it is delicious. But we found a favorite spot that we like to go. And you actually went there the first time, and you met Sid and Isabella, and you had some kind of freak accident with how like a rope went through your hand really quick or something, and you had a burn, and you walked in there just to check out the restaurant and asked if they had like some ice or something you could put on your hand. And Isabella, in such a motherly way, just like tended to you, got you some ice, and when you came back later for dinner, she asked about it and wanted to see how you were doing. And now we always go check up on them whenever we can. They have a little restaurant and shop called at Pomado Point. Mm-hmm. And I think, is it called Sid's Place?
I think it's Sid's Place at Pomado Point.
Yeah, Sid's Place at Pomado Point. And you probably know more of their story, how they met. I think Isabella she was like living in Boston and then somehow ended up.
Yeah, she came from Brazil as a girl, moved to Boston, and then she was in St. Thomas vacationing, I think, and met Sid. That's where he was from. And then
I think he was a fisherman.
I think so, yeah. And then they got married, and I don't remember if he was already living in Anegada, but at some point they got married and opened this restaurant. It's delightful, and it's my favorite on Anegada. There are other great restaurants as well, but I've just they won me over. I love to go there. They're so friendly, and the restaurant is near my favorite spot to anchor. And anyway, and they'll we can arrange if we want to rent scooters. You rent scooters around the point on the other side, but a little van will come out and pick us up or a truck, I should say. We just sit on little benches in the back of the truck and ride over to a few miles to the little town part, and that's where we can pick up some scooters. But it really is delightful, and they're wonderful and friendly, and the food is delicious. So
something I love about Sid's Place is I love the walk up. So you're at anchor, you come in your dinghy, you beach it, you go up this little sandy hill, and like you can do this whole thing barefoot, which I love. And there's like a little entrance and it's
a fence,
lights. Yeah. And you're like, okay, now we're entering the property and you see it there in the distance, and it's all glowing. And they have, in addition to great ambiance, really personal service, delicious food, they also were just so thoughtful to every detail. Like, if it is an evening where there's like mosquitoes out or something, they just have bug spray around for you to use. So, because a lot of times I guess they notice customers would come and be like, oh, dang it, there's mosquitoes here. I forgot to bring bug spray. I don't want to go back to my boat. And it can be kind of a bummer, but they're just like, thought of that for you, and they just have it handy. I mean, it's just little details like that they want to just really help you feel like your family, and like they want to take good care of you, and they want you to have an amazing experience while you're with them. And we always do.
One other thing I'll say about Anegada, just because I was there earlier this year and I'm thinking of it, is I know we don't on our trips. The rule is we don't bring alcohol on the boat. But if we're at a restaurant or we're at a beach and there's a beach bar, or you want to order a glass of wine with dinner, that's fine. And you can do that at Pomado Point, or sometimes we drive scooters down to the other end of the island, and there's a great little kind of beach bungalow hangout, and you can get a cocktail there. And for those people that want to drink, there are options to do that. We just don't bring it back on the boat. And but it's not the kind of the, like you said, it's not the theme of our trips at all. But I just think that there are great places on the island to hang out and chill. And if you want to drink, you can get it. But there's also slack lines and big hammock swings that you can sit in, and just lots of great places to relax in those kind of restaurant and bar areas.
Okay. I don't know how we got this far into the episode and we have not yet really talked about snorkeling
Hmm.
because in the British Virgin Islands, there is some good snorkeling. And I want to talk about
That's quite the adjective.
some of
There
the
is some good snorkeling.
Let me just tell you, hopefully my tone would carry that. But
There's some
yes,
good snorkeling.
that's right. One of my favorite places to snorkel, I think, is the dog. We call it the dogs. Is it the dog islands?
Yeah, the dogs.
And we
Dog
go anchor out there or catch a mooring ball and
Kitchen Point.
let's just stay here first. Like
Sorry.
the dogs. Yeah. At the dogs, at the dog islands.
It's 3 islands.
3 islands, and you just swim in, and there's all this coral reef. There's so many, just hundreds and hundreds of fish in all different sizes and colors. And if you're feeling frisky, there's like a coral arch you could swim under. And I never get tired of exploring that area. It's different every single time. So anyway, that's one of my favorite places to go snorkeling, and it has never disappointed. It's always been so fun. I haven't even explored all of it yet, and I probably have been there like 5 times. I just think it's great snorkeling. And then one time we went, and was it called Monkey Bay or
Monkey Point?
Monkey Point. Okay. Monkey Point we went to, and I was like, wait a minute, because I always want to go to the dogs because I know the snorkeling is going to be good. We went to Monkey Point. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love the snorkeling there as well. And there's just so many different spots where you can snorkel. They have some shipwrecks that you can snorkel on if you want to. I've done that before. We've done the Rhone.
Mm-hmm.
Do the groups usually want to do the Rhone? I know it's pretty choppy water, so you have to be like ready for that if you want to snorkel there.
Yeah, if you want, where we have to tie up the boat to snorkel on the Rhone is pretty rocking because you're kind of on the exposed side of the island, and so it can be for people that are tippy, I guess I'll say.
If they're nervous about getting seasick.
Yeah, it's not. But we've gone out there and we've scuba dived, and what I usually recommend is if people want to scuba dive, we can set you up and you can dive off the boat. But even better is to maybe get there a day early or stay a day later and go out with a dive company that can zip you out specifically to the best diving spots. They'll take care of all the gear, make it super easy, and just kind of bookend your trip with scuba rather than trying to do it off of the sailboat, which we have done, and it's lovely. But I think you get a better scuba experience if you team up with a dive company.
That's your goal.
Yeah, if you really want to dive.
I will say I'm very proud of myself for getting scuba certified because it was a real milestone in overcoming my personal fear of deep water. And it's a cool experience. And now that I can compare both the snorkeling and the scuba diving, especially when it comes to the British Virgin Islands, I feel like I can see 80% or better what I want to see from snorkeling without all of the added steps and equipment and caution as I can, just like putting on a face mask and some flippers. So I don't feel like if you're like, oh, I really want to get scuba certified first, go for it if you want to, but also you can fully and completely enjoy what the British Virgin Islands has to offer without being scuba certified.
I would even say 90%. You can see 90% of what
I'm being conservative.
If anybody diving is going to see. Yeah. So I'd love to just rattle through. Okay. I'll rattle through the names of a few more places that I like to go. There's you mentioned the dogs and Monkey Point and the Rhone. I would also say Sandy Spit is a great island. It's just like
the quintessential deserted island that you see in a cartoon anytime someone's on a deserted island.
It's a sandbar with a couple of palm trees just right in the middle of it. And, it's maybe like 100 yards long, if that. And you can, we can anchor right next to it and spend the night, which is delightful. It's a little bit windy there. You're not as protected because the island is not, much to say in terms of structure, but it's a beautiful spot. It's a fun place to hang out. And so that's one. And I would also
Kitchen Point.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah.
say I was there in, I want to say February of this year, and I've been there a lot of times. I'm still discovering new places. Like we went in and we anchored in this new cove. I forget the name of it. I think it's called White Beach on the backside of Guana Island, and I'd never been there. And so just know that we're trying to give you a flavor of what it's like to be there. But in a week, there's no way you're going to see everything. There's no way you're going to see it even after multiple trips. And that's one reason I love to go back, is because I have my favorite places, but I also get to discover new places.
New favorites.
There's Norman Island,
Oh, yeah.
which is also famously known as Peter Island, and there's some cool
Oh, I
hikes
thought it was
there.
like Treasure Island.
Sorry, Treasure Island is what I
Yeah.
meant to say.
Yeah.
Peter Island, I discovered a new cove in Peter Island last time as well. There's great snorkeling there. There's Joost van Dyke is kind of famous for its bars and the soggy dollar bar. We usually go to Little Joost van Dyke, which is kind of on the other side. And there's just cool stuff to discover. And Tortola, even the main island, we don't usually anchor and visit Tortola, but before or after your trip, there's Aragorn's art studio in Trellis Bay, right by the airport. He's got a
It's like a
organic,
pottery.
like a farm up
Oh,
in the
yeah.
mountains of the island that you can visit, that which is cool. And so there's just endless stuff to see and do there, and you're never going to see it all in one trip. And so, you may have to come back for more than one.
I will say we've said the term kitchen point like 3 times and never talked about what it is. So maybe we should just hit on it instead of leaving it dangling out there.
Sorry,
kitchen point. I don't even know if there is good snorkeling there, because I love what's on shore so much that I've not
There is good snorkeling.
snorkeled.
Yeah, there is good snorkeling. But yeah, it's a fun place to scramble and hang out.
Yeah, it has a lot. It has like a natural seawall almost around the side of the island and so much granite. And I just love to um, explore that whole area and get out farther, get up high. And there's also just so many seashells. So that's been a favorite for seashells as well. So good to hear there's snorkeling. Maybe next time I'll actually put my face in the water. I just love the scramble. So
like I said, you can't do it all.
Can't do it all. Yeah, so hopefully that gives a good flavor. Did you ever see anything like wildlife wise that kind of stood out to you? Mostly, I just think of like being able to swim through hundreds of fish and the bright colors.
I'm going to sound so ignorant when I say this, but we were snorkeling in an area called, I think it was called Long Bay on the west side of Virgin Gorda, and we'd gone to this cool snorkeling spot, and I just turned around to head back, and out of the left side of my eye, I caught this silverfish that honestly looked just massive.
So
it was super tall, like maybe 2 or 3 feet tall, really flat and narrow, and looked like it was maybe 5 or 6 feet long. And I was like, holy cow, what was that? And then it just sort of swam away. And I just know that it was big, flat, tall, and silver. And I tried to look it up on the fish identifier cards we had on board and never really landed on the one. But every now and then something will just kind of, I don't want to say sneak up on you in like a scary way.
But you'll just have a delightful surprise.
I wasn't worried that this fish was going to attack me or eat me or anything. But, there's that. And then also, some people like to fish and they catch great fish off the back of the boat. And sometimes they're catch and release people, and that's cool. And sometimes they're catch and cook it up people. And when we do, the fish is amazing. And so speaking of what you were saying earlier about fresh seafood, that's a great way to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Well, it is an incredible feeling to sail around these areas and just realize, like, once you get there, you can just go anywhere. It's like all included. You can go to any of these islands. It's the feeling I get. Like, I can't believe that I have such the great honor and privilege to be able to walk on these coral beaches or these sandy beaches or climb these rocks or see these incredible sunsets or look at these stars from these dark spaces that make them the stars so apparent. And yeah, it's fun, it's playful, and it's humbling in a gentle way. I would
Yeah.
say.
And to your point, what you were saying at the top of the show is that a lot of vacations will wear you out. And I think you take in a lot on these trips, but they're very relaxing, very restorative, and I think very peaceful.
Hmm.
And I'm grateful that I get to go back and introduce this to people who may not have experienced it before.
And I also think it's not just about the scenery. It really is about the connections and certainly the people that you'll connect with on the boat, but also just meeting with the locals. It's not overwhelming. It's like you can really have a nice conversation with someone and feel like I met some locals.
Hmm.
Maybe not like you're going to the Mediterranean. You're like, oh my gosh, there were just like thousands of people everywhere. Um, Also a good trip, but a different vibe in the British Virgin Islands, which we love. So if you've um, ever dreamed about sailing in the Caribbean, this adventure doesn't have to be extreme or wild to really have a beautiful impact on your life. Sometimes it's just a gentle wind and a quiet anchorage and some delicious food and some good company and a beautiful sunset and learning a new skill.
Can I put a plug in here real quick before we
Oh,
wrap it up?
yeah.
I'll just say we love the BVI so much, and the people that sail with us love it so much that we're doing 3 trips there right at the top of 2026. January 5th through the 10th, January 26th through the 31st, and February 16th through the 21st. I just want to make sure I'm getting that right. Yeah.
Yeah.
January 5 through 10, 26 through 31, and then February 16th through the 21st. And it's going to be, it's a perfect time of year. It's getting away from wherever you are, unless you live in Arizona and want to stay there for the winter months for a specific reason. Most people want to get a break to somewhere warm and lovely in January and February. And that's one reason why I like to go there then. It's prime weather.
And that's one reason why we wanted to talk about it today, because where we are is very chilly. We're both wearing our sweaters. And I just thought, oh, this is a perfect day to talk about the British Virgin Islands, because when the weather gets cold, we start getting cozy and imagining a
Warm.
sunny getaway. Yeah. So if you join us on one of our navigator sailing trips in the BVI, the rhythm of the week is morning snorkeling, afternoon sailing, evenings gathered under the stars. And it's just the kind of week that will stay with you long after you're home. Maybe your next adventure isn't about going farther, but about going deeper. So ask yourself, what could go right?
Hey everyone, before we sign off today, this is Erik, Orton, and I just want to give you the sailing update. A few weeks ago, we put out our schedule for the whole year, all of 2026. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of trips that are coming up that I think are really worth remembering. We are going to be spending the winter in the British Virgin Islands, the BVI. So we're going to do a trip early January, late January, and February. And I love the BVI, and I'm going to tell you why. It is easy to get to. The sailing is world class. There's fantastic snorkeling. It's sunny at a time of year when, wherever you are in the world, January and February, chances are it's a little bit cold, a little bit gloomy. This is the perfect getaway for midwinter. So January 5th through the 10th, we're going to be in the BVI. We'll be there again January 26th through the 31st, and then again February 16th through the 21st. Another thing is these will be our lowest price trips of the year. After these trips, prices jump to our new season setting. So if you want to get the best bang for your buck, BVI January 5 through 10, 26 through 31, or February 16 through 21. If you're feeling spendy, March, we are going to French Polynesia. We're going to do a one-way sail from Raiatea to Bora Bora. Bora Bora is gorgeous. The last time we were there was, I want to say, 2017. So we don't go very often. It's almost double the cost of our other trips. If you can afford it, it's super worth it. And it's beautiful. Imagine just like the biggest expanses of turquoise water and incredible sea life and fun restaurants and beautiful scenery. So if you want to go to French Polynesia in March, we're going to be there March 8th through the 14th. If not, if that's a little bit out of your range, which I totally get, our January and February trips to the BVI are going to be your best deal for the year. So click the button or just go to the Awesome Factory /.ny for the Awesome Factory / sorry, let me get this right. The Awesome Factory .nyc /sailing. That'll take you to the page that explains everything. Let's hop on a call, or you can email us at hello@theawesomefactory.nyc. Would love to sail with you in Q1 of next year. There's a couple of spots left on each of the BVI trips, so would love to welcome you aboard, and whether there or Bora Bora, either way, it'd be fun to sail together. Before we wrap up entirely, people go sailing with us, and I want you to hear from them directly what kind of experience they have. So here's is a sailing takeaway from somebody who's gone sailing with us recently.
And then a takeaway was that you guys made what you guys taught us here. I know it was just a beginner lesson, if you will, but it definitely opened my eyes to it's a possibility in the future, something that I could pursue and actually do and feel good about. I think you guys did a really good job of teaching us of why we are doing certain things, and being able to take 6 people and rotate them around and get them a little bit on everything. And that was, that's not something that I think if you take a cruise normally, you're sitting there drinking while someone else is doing all the work. And I know Tony's not that guy. I'm not that guy. It's I get bored really quick. So that was really cool. I totally recommend this to somebody else who wants to be part of it, right? This is like going camping with a bunch of friends. Everybody pitches in. So it was really cool. Thank you.